Hello everyone, this is Troy Kostasek for Explorminate, bringing you a new game that just went into early access called Last Days of Old Earth by Auroch Games. You may know them from several other titles. This is not their first game, but it is their first foray into something that is 4X-like. So, I'm going to show you about the game here, just give you a little tour, and then in the next episode I'll actually show you some play. So the game has a menu right down here in the corner. Starts with a tutorial. I recommend that. If you get this game, you're going to want to do the tutorial. It does a good job of explaining it to you. Right now it just has skirmish mode, which is kind of like a sandbox mode. Like most strategy games there, it's just you versus the other guy in a world. There will be a campaign mode eventually for Last Days of Old Earth, and when that comes out, I may do a whole series just on the campaign. Load game, I know you know what that is. Multiplayer, I have not hooked up my game to the multiplayer yet, but one of the big selling points for Last Days of Old Earth is that it is intended to be a multiplayer game. So while there is a skirmish mode and there will be a campaign mode, the game will really shine in multiplayer, human versus human. Options. You can see here video settings. I'm just leaving all this on the defaults. This is the way it was when I fired up the game. Audio, I have it turned down pretty far so you can hear my voice. Anytime you record a game, it seems like it picks up the background sounds extremely well, and it can make it difficult to hear the person speaking, so I've got it turned pretty far down. Gameplay, I really don't mess with these all that much. This has worked out fine for me. And then hotkeys, you can see how you can tag your keys to different actions here. I really don't use the hotkeys a lot. I've found that I don't really need to. Last Days of Old Earth is a pretty straightforward game, I feel, and so, it's easy play. Easy play. Credits, obviously the people who made the game exit the game. So let's start a skirmish battle. In Last Days of Old Earth, there are just two factions. You have the Sky Watchers, who are the humans, and you have the Automata, who are sentient robots. And you can kind of customize each faction for the game. Mixed, which is you have armies made up of both infantry and artillery, or you can just do infantry battles or artillery battles. Same for the Automata. And you can customize that for both you and your opponents. If you want to have extra opponents, you can have more than one in a map. I'm just gonna do one for the purposes of this introductory show that I'm doing here, and then for the first episode showing some actual play. Later on down the road, I might set up a 4-player match, and so that would be kind of neat and fun. But for now, we're just gonna do one-on-one. Alright, map settings. There are 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. Small is incredibly small. My second episode, I may be able to play a whole game just in a very short amount of time. So small is tiny compared to what you might be used to in other turn-based strategy games. So, like if you're an Age of Wonders 3 fan or a Galciv 3 fan, you'll probably be surprised at how small these maps are. I'll probably stick with small on this. Map resources, normal, you can customize that to sparse, normal, abundant. Starting resources, none, normal, and then quick start, which means you have a bunch and you can really spam units. I'm just going to leave it there on normal. And that's about all there is for game setup at this time in early access. There's no difficulty settings yet, but oh yeah, one more thing. Cards. The game just came out on early access, so each faction only has 40 cards. These are your units that you get to play. They're represented by cards. There's no real card game in Last Days of Old Earth. I know some people here, the game uses cards, so it must have a card game you have to learn in addition to all the other game mechanics. No, I mean, they could just call these like character record sheets or anything. It's not really intended to be a sub game. It's you know, it's just an easy way to represent them. Uh, Eventually, more cards will be added to the game, and then you'll be able to customize your 40 card deck with the number of units and heroes you want to use. So it'll add a level of customization later on that I think will be pretty interesting. But for now, pretty basic. 2 40 card decks that are supposed to play well against each other. Except. Okay, loads the game, gives you a little tip. Use the terrain to your advantage. Okay, the very first thing that will happen is you'll be asked to roll for initiative. And, if you've ever played like a tabletop RPG, you know what rolling for initiative is. Whoever wins the roll gets to go first. Now, you start with 3 dice, and these dice are basically two-sided. Either you have a symbol or it's just blank. A symbol is worth 1 point, blanks are worth 0 points. And the higher your number is after the roll, the better. The highest roll total will win. You can add dice to your initiative roll by spending resources. Up here in the upper left hand corner, you have 3, well, really you have more resources than just 3, but you have 3 resources you can spend. You have materials, population, and energy. Okay, now let's say I want to do more than just 3. I'm gonna add 1 industry. Now that subtracted 1 from up here, and it gave me an extra dice. Let's say I want to add 1 energy. Okay, it subtracted 1 up here, gave me another die. Okay, so if I click too many, I can just put that back. All right, so I'm gonna start with 5. Also, you have action points, will become more important later on. This is the number of actions you can take per round, per turn. And then here is resource surplus. Unspent action points fill up this bar. You probably can't see it too well on your computer right now, but you will as the game progresses. If this bar fills up, you get to add 1 to this surplus counter. And then, what's kind of cool is for each 1 that you have here, you can increase 1 of your resources. You use resources to put your unit cards into play. So, there's a lot of turns you will not spend all your action points. So the designers did a good job of making sure those don't go to waste. They accumulate here along this bar, and then eventually rack up here in this surplus counter, and then eventually you can spend them if you need an extra resource or 2 to play a hero or play a unit. So I'm going to confirm this, and we'll go into the game and get started. I'll just show you around real quick, and then next episode I'll show you what play looks like. So confirm. And he spent a lot more than I did to get the first action, so he won. Now you notice how the dice spun around a couple times there? It's because we tied the first time. Anytime there's a tie, you re-roll. So he got first, 12 action points. I got second, 8 action points. So he's going to get to go first. Alright? So at this point, okay, one more thing. When you go second, the resources you spent will be refunded. So there's no real downside, really, to spending your resources to get extra die. The game kind of incentivizes risk-taking. So, you can spend your resources to win if you want the extra action points. And if you don't win, they go back into your piles. So, the game encourages the player to risk a little bit more to make the game a bit more interesting. So we'll accept. We'll let the computer take its turn. And while it's doing that, I'll explain a little bit more. Alright. I've explained all this in the upper left-hand corner, so let's keep going. Right here, this button is show or hide hex info. Okay, down here in the game, you can see the different hexes, the different objects that are on them, the terrain. Looks like I've got some ruins here. This is my capital city right here. Okay, and then these are my units. Okay, I can toggle that on or off. So this ruin right here, I can explore it. This tile right here is a wasteland, but you can see this little one with a gear. Right, if I build a collector here on this hex, I'm going to increase my materials income by 1 each turn. So I'm going to want to do that pretty fast. This outline that you see here is the edge of the map. Okay, and I haven't explored that much, so you can tell that I've got a lot of exploring left to do. And let's see. Okay, I can show or hide the supply range. That's this blue outline. This is basically your zone of control, that you've seen from plenty of other 4X or strategy games. As long as your troops stay within this zone of control, this supply range, they operate at full effectiveness. If they go outside that supply range, their movement is cut, their offense and defense are cut. So you kind of have to operate within your zone of control here. Alright, moving on. Here's the game menu, save, load, options, exit the main menu, return to game. Here's the end turn button. Don't want to click that yet. Then this is these two icons show you whose turn it is, which is important when you've got like 4 or 5 different factions going at once. It's important to know who's going and all that. Here's your deck. Okay, to draw a card, it takes 2 action points. Like right now, I've got 8 action points to draw a card. It would cost me 2. All right. Right here is my hand. I can make my hand here at the bottom disappear, or I can show it. Right now I have 5 out of 7 cards. Right now 7 is my maximum hand size. There are some heroes, if I play them, will increase my hand size. I've never really found it to be a problem, my hand size to be a problem. So, I mean, you do have a limit, but I've never felt like that limit hampered me in any way. So here's what I've got in my hand. These are my units and heroes that I could potentially play. Alright. Alright, let me tell you a little about it. At the top, there's the name. There's the faction icon. Okay. Then there's unit type, this little sun there. Right below the unit icon tells you he's a hero. Okay. Then you have here, in this red hexagon, the number of action points it will cost to play that hero. And then below that you see the same 3 resources. That's how many resources it takes to build this unit or summon this unit, however you want to think about it. He's got a Tanker 2 ability, and I'll show you what that is in a second. And then below you have Dice, which is attack, Shield, which is defense, and then Flag, which is command, and then Boots, which are movement. So here we go. Alright. The world... Okay, it's got... This hero has some abilities. Builder. He can build structures on the world map. Only heroes can build structures like resource collectors or outposts or things like that. And then here's his Tanker 2 ability. Passive ability. Heavy units in this hero's army gain +2 to attack. That's pretty good. I kind of like using the heavier units. So this is a pretty good hero for an offensive army. Alright. Now, here's a regular unit. It kind of shows, I mean, it's very similar to the hero. A lot of the same symbols. Okay, this fist is offense, defense, shield is defense, heart, health, and then boots, how fast it can move. And this is a heavy unit. So this unit would go well with this hero. Okay, and we can just look at his abilities real quick. Mount up. It's a passive ability. Means infantry units and heroes in this army move at this unit's movement rating. Most units have a movement rating of 2. This guy has a movement rating of 3, so you get an extra movement out of him. So that's pretty nice. And then infantry support 2 has an active ability, which means you can activate it during combat. And is when occupying the back row, this unit can choose a friendly infantry unit to give it +2 to attack until the end of the round. so he can kind of buff up your other units. Okay. Absolved draft guns. This is a support unit, a little bit more expensive to play. Reach is a great ability. If you have this guy in the back row of combat, and I'll show you combat in the next episode, he can shoot over your units and hit enemy units, so that's nice. And then Disrupt 2, a successful attack reduces the target's defense by 2 for 1 round. So you can hit somebody with this guy first, and then finish off that unit because it won't get much defense afterwards. That's pretty nice. Now this Bearcat, you notice how he's kind of grayed out? It's because I don't have enough resources to build him yet. He takes 6 materials. I only have 5. So I'm going to have to wait a turn if I want to build him. And he's pretty nice unit. Look at his offense, 7. That's high. Defensive 2 is great. Look at his health, 12. This guy just has 7. This guy has 8. This is a big, tough unit. And then I have another hero here, right here. Over here is the discard pile. So let's say I have 7 cards in hand, and I don't like those 7 cards. Well, I can drag a card over to the discard pile, okay? I don't want to do that. But I could, if I felt I needed to get rid of one, I could do that. Okay? Now let's look at my army here. This is what the army management screen looks like. It'll show you what units you have in the army right here. If you have a hero, it will go right here. You can only deploy units at a structure. So if I wanted to add units to this army, I would have to move them here to my city, which is called Clan Home. Alright, and let's see, it tells me the movement for the whole army. So if I had a bunch of guys with 3 movements, it would show 3 here. Command, how many units I can add in the army with my current command value. And then fate. Fate is like bonus points that you can use to get extra dice in combat. Right now it has 0. Alright. That's about all I can show you for that right now. I can rename the army. They let you rename all the armies right here. I'm not going to bother with that. I normally don't. Okay. Clan Home. This is my city. This is my capital. If I lose the capital, I lose the game. So Last Days of Old Earth is kind of a capture the flag type game. You want to find the other player's city and take it. And that's how you win. So here's Clan Home. I probably want to start with some hero to help protect my city. Let's see, what does infantry leader do? Infantry units in this hero are get +1 to their attack. Nah. Okay. I'm gonna take Idar, twice scarred, and put him up here. Now watch. Okay, watch up here when I do that. Watch up here when I do that. All my stuff's gonna get reduced. There we go. See, it took 3 action points, and then it took 1 of each resource to do that. Alright, so I probably want to put my heavy unit with my hero that has a bonus for heavy, so I'll go ahead and deploy that. Now, you notice all these guys are grayed out. I don't have enough action points, I don't have enough materials to deploy them anymore. I could draw a card if I wanted, but I'm going to need some resources. So I'm going to let these 2 AP ride into the next turn and let this counter start to build up so I can gain some more resources, play some heavier units here. Alright. Okay. Another thing. These units are garrisoned. Okay, you see the garrison here? It means they get a bonus to defense if they are attacked. I can create an army if I want. Okay? And if I do that, I can move these guys into the army. You'll see that in the next episode. Units that are in an army, but not in the garrison at a location, do not get the defense bonus. Okay? Just because you have an army in a structure does not mean you're going to get the defense bonus from it. So keep that in mind as you play. It's an important part of the strategy. Alright, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I don't think there's much more I can show you right off the bat. Okay, for instance, ruins. I'll show you this real quick. Certain terrain tiles have bonuses. Okay, this is a post-apocalyptic world, which is kind of a unique setting. The sun's gone cold, and that's why it's snowing everywhere. And the humans are on their way toward the equator to try to eke out a living there. So anyway, different terrain is going to have different bonuses. Okay, ruins +2 defense. As long as you have infantry here, they're going to get +2 to their defense, which is very nice. Up here on this hills, you're going to get +1 sight range and +1 defense. So that's great, but it does take 2 movement to get up there. For instance, this guy has a movement of 2. I couldn't move him up there this turn. Alright, so that's about it. That's all I'm going to show this episode. This is Troy Kostasik for Explorminate. Please join me next time as we start playing Last Days of Old Earth. Take care, everyone.